The Arabian Peninsula has some of the harshest desert conditions anywhere in the world. It is an area marked by endless dunes and deep sand, gravel and stony expanses, pock-marked limestone massifs, and impressive mountainous terrain. One of the largest expanses of sand in the world, known as the Rub al-Khali or Empty Quarter, is found here, and is famous for having once been the haunt of the great explorer Wilfred Thesiger. As a tough and relentless explorer, he walked and rode by camelback over its endless reaches, fully determined to follow the Bedu trade route that leads to the land of frankincense in southern Arabia. In spite of the severe and desperate conditions, many wild animals can be found in these exposed and often perilous voids. Here they are able to survive through their remarkable features, behavioral traits, and adaptations, which enable them to accommodate the extreme temperatures, find food where it is scant, and reproduce. One such creature is the Arabian Dhub. The Dhub is an almost mythical creature, a giant lizard in the land of Jinn. On viewing the reptiles for the first time, one recalls the bearded Gila monster, a venomous lizard found in the dry desert areas of North and Central America. However, this mysterious creature, in spite of its appearance, is less foreboding and not aggressive at all, as long as it is left alone. It can be very large and can weigh a few kilograms and measure a length of up to 70 centimeters, almost half of which is made up by the thick and flattened tail. There is nothing diminutive about this lizard, which has a large angular head and a fleshy and spiny tail, hence the common English name of Spiny-tailed Agama. The powerful jaws have blunt teeth which are fixed into the skull, a condition referred to as acrodont. These teeth are reserved for crushing rough and fibrous vegetation, which is their primary source of food. The heavy tail has spiny scales that make it a convenient mace to club an unsuspecting or careless enemy in defense, and it uses this together with its bite to ward off its main enemies, which include birds of prey such as eagles, predatory animals such as honey badgers, leopards and striped hyenas, grey monitor lizards, and its nemesis, the man. Apart from the fighting skills it has, the lizard employs several strategies to discourage its predators. The body is covered by armor made of bony scales, which are particularly sharp along the tail, and which can be flicked at an attacker. For shelter, the animal reverts to a fossorial strategy by digging a 2 to 3 meter deep burrow that may have an adjoining side chamber near its spiraling base. The oval entrance, which is a function of the shape of the lizard and the restrictions placed on it by its squat posture when digging, can be blocked off by the tail, which is used effectively as a barrier. It forms a kind of medieval drawbridge that restricts access to the burrow, thereby thwarting any would-be predators. The lizard also avoids predators by restricting its activities to the first and last hours of the day, at dawn and dusk, and by relying on its cryptic camouflage when feeding at bushes in the rocky desert. If confronted, the large folds of skin on its body can be inflated to almost double its apparent size, while it hisses aggressively as it gapes its mouth open, thereby further intimidating its enemy. In the early morning, the sun rises relatively quickly, since the lizard inhabits an area within or very close to the tropics. The land heats up rapidly, and the dark, slate-grey lizard emerges from its burrow to warm up as it basks in the sun. As the Dhub warms up, it slowly changes colour to a light sulphur yellow, like the proverbial chameleon, its very distant lizard cousin. This indicates that the lizard has warmed up and is now able to be active. Like all ectotherms or cold-blooded animals, its blood is not really cold, but is rather regulated using the external environment. In fact, its blood may reach relatively high temperatures. This is an important strategy to reduce its energy demands, which is critical for a desert-dwelling animal. The lighter yellow color makes the already hot lizard absorb less heat than it would when it is dark, cold, and sluggish. This color pattern is characteristic of the Egyptian spiny-tailed agama. However, there's a great variation in the coloration and patterns of the various species of these lizards on the Arabian Peninsula, with some specimens even being lime green in color, as in the case of Thomas's spiny-tailed agama, or multicolored and with ocellated or spotted or net-like patterns, as in the case of Bent's spiny-tailed agama. Apart from basking to warm its body, the spiny-tailed agama can regulate its temperature by taking shelter in its burrow or by climbing into bushes to take advantage of the cool breeze and lower temperatures off the surface of the desert floor. The lizard moves actively from one bush to another to feed, and this is where a lucky person may get to view the animal or find its telltale tracks. The diet is primarily vegetarian as an adult, although an adult cannot resist the occasional locust when available, particularly when they are swarming. Juveniles or young doves supplement their diet with insects and small reptiles, since they require a much more energy-intensive and protein-rich diet to satisfy them. Many of the plants that the lizards feed on are succulent, and the lizards can get all of their moisture from the dew and from the plant matter that they feed on. The dove uses other strategies to balance its water needs, including having watertight skin covered in scales, the absence of sweat glands, the ability to extract moisture from its droppings via an anal gland, which allows moisture to be redistributed to the body. The lizard is also able to concentrate its urine as uric acid crystals, which cake the dark droppings in a coat of white powder, usually as a cap near one end of the dropping. The rough and fibrous dropping, being very dry, is aided in its movement by peristaltic or rhythmic contractions of the intestines and lubricated by the secretion of an orange gel, which is evident in fresh droppings. In addition, most of the desert areas have high salt concentrations in the soil and water, and these salts are extracted from the body by means of salt glands located in the dove's nostrils. Evidence of this strategy is clear when one of these lizards is closely inspected, for one can find rings of white salt crystals around the inner edge of the nostrils. Although solitary for the most part, these lizards do congregate in large colonies of 30 to 40 individuals, each with its own burrow, but in relatively close proximity. The distance, no doubt, determined by the aggression of the nearest neighbor and the extent of each animal's own comfort zone. The colonies are perhaps formed because of the concentration of resources, such as the plants on which they feed, or where there is a preponderance of insects and lizards on which the young are nourished, and perhaps because of the ease of finding a mate. Although their burrows are readily found where they do occur, as are their dark fibrous droppings and distinctive tracks, it is always a joy to see one, and indeed a rare privilege. One might startle a dove basking on a rock or feeding at a bush, whereby it will scamper off in typical reptilian fashion, running in a characteristic sinuous scramble, with a front foot leading in step with its opposing hind foot as it propels itself towards its burrow or thick cover. I've seen them do this on numerous occasions, and in one situation the burrow was located in the center of a low-growing spiny myrrh tree. Although many burrows can be found as openings on sandy plains surrounded by a small mound, they may also be dug into the edge of aeolianite or fossilized dune cliffs or outcrops, where the substrate is brittle enough to be excavated in the ancient cemented sand. As they are known to reuse their burrows, or those of other doves, it is thought that some of the burrows excavated in the aeolianite cliffs and outcrops could well be centuries old. Local Bedu or Jabali tribesmen relish this animal as a delicacy and believe it can be used as an aphrodisiac. Poor animals are therefore persecuted and are readily hunted for the fire or pot. A favorite trick, and a cruel trick for that matter, is to place snares near the bushes that they feed on. These snares are attached to planks in which nails are embedded, and the result is that the ensnared animal, in running off once captured, further entangles in the snare wire and is injured by the nails, making it easier to catch. If it tries to enter a burrow, it is restricted from doing so by reason of the plank, and thus cannot escape its pursuer. Unfortunately, this highly effective method threatens those vulnerable creatures and their future existence, as does habitat destruction, roadkill deaths, and general persecution. There is also no doubt a ready market for these animals, both for the bushmeat trade and for the exotic pet trade. However, they are not known to survive for very long once captured. It is all the more unfortunate when one considered that these animals take 4 years to mature and only produce 20 to 30 eggs per clutch, each no bigger than a quail egg and probably a very low survival rate. This means that they have a relatively slow recruitment rate. Added to this, they can live for up to 80 years, making their death so much more tragic and each individual lizard so much more precious. There are 3 species of dove in the Arabian Peninsula, one of which is comprised of 2 subspecies, the Egyptian Spiny-tailed Agama, Uromastix aegyptia, of which the 2 subspecies are Leptieni and Microlepis, Ben's Spiny-tailed Agama, Uromastix benthii, and Thomas's Spiny-tailed Agama, Uromastix thomasi. The first 2 species have relatively long spiny tails, while Thomas's Spiny-tailed Agama has an unusual, relatively short, flat, paddle-shaped or spoon-shaped tail that is thought to be extremely effective in blocking off its burrow. One of the subspecies of the Egyptian spiny-tailed agama, Uromastix aegyptia microlepis, which tends to occur inland in sand and gravel desert of Oman, it can reach up to 70 centimeters. The subspecies Leptieni is found further north on the Arabian Peninsula. Ben's spiny-tailed lizard is mostly restricted to Dhub and grows to 36 centimeters, It is known to occur along the low coastal hills with rocky outcrops and scattered vegetation below Jebel Samhan, between Mirbat and Sidr, extending to Hadbin, although I have seen specimens as roadkill near to Hasik, which is further north along the coast. Thomas's spiny-tailed lizard, Uromastix thomasi, which grows to 24 centimeters, occurs on stony and sandy gravel plains with scattered vegetation, which is known from coastal areas and inland to 70 kilometers both in south and central Oman, including Duqm, Thumrait, Jiddat al-Harasis, and Nasira Island. I found tracks for these animals at a specimen of Salsola erubescens, a small greenish bush that seems to attract a lot of animals, including larks, which presumably feed on the insects that might feed and take shelter in these bushes. In contrast, it is well known that the Dabb and many other herbivorous animals find the ubiquitous bushes of Tetraena cartarense quite unappetizing, which explains the abundance of these bushes. Apparently, Acacia tortilis might be a favorite tree of the Dabb, as has been found with them feeding in trees. These giant lizards have survived harsh environmental conditions for millennia, adapting as they have needed to the exacting environment. Through their unique vegetarian lifestyle, these ancient lizards have clung on to their existence and been part of this dramatic Arabian landscape for over 25 million years, which makes them a true treasure of the Arabian Peninsula. Their ancient, mean, and imposing size makes them stand out as little dragons in a land where dragon's blood trees have been used for centuries to extract the blood-red cinnabar, which is used medicinally. They live like disciples and guardians among these and many other sacred trees, such as the frankincense tree and the myrrh trees, that have provided fragrant gums that humans have used for centuries. They are every bit as precious as any cinnabar, frankincense, or myrrh, and should be cherished for their uniqueness.